Before we get started, there will be some light housekeeping. I'll be doing a modified content schedule for the next little while. For those not in the know, I have a website where I do a lot of stuff like this, but in written form, and the videos are a means of branching out and doing things differently. My usual content schedule is writing posts every Friday and videos every other Saturday. This leads to weeks where I end up doing both at once, so I'm going to be alternating between writing and videos for a bit. The site is called Bonus Action, and it can be found at www.bonusaction.ca. That's all one word, www.bonusaction.ca. You can subscribe to the mailing list for posts as soon as they're uploaded. And don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube, it helps out a lot. Now, for the regularly scheduled chicanery. Have you ever been socked in the mouth by something so cool that you can't stop thinking about it? Because this is what happened with me and Ex-Zodiac. It's been a while since we've looked at a game in early access, but this one is too cool to pass up, mainly because it's, for the most part, basically complete in terms of features from what I've seen and played. We'll be getting to that, but for now, I'm Mahmoud Aden, and here are my first impressions of Ex-Zodiac in early access. If there's one thing I've learned in the last few years, it's that there's an underserved market of Star Fox fans. I know, a new concept! Between Star Fox Zero being kind of middling, and the only new release since then being the previously unofficially released Star Fox 2 with the Super Nintendo Mini, we all thought Star Fox was done, relegated to the realm of being known primarily through Smash Brothers and cross-promotional tie-ins like with Starlink. But one independent developer saw this and went,
"Fine. I'll do it myself."
And proceeded to make Ex-Zodiac. Released into early access in July 2022, and developed by MNKY, real name Ben Hickling, in Godot of all things. That's usually not a thing I find out when researching a game. Anyways, Ex-Zodiac is an arcade rail shooter designed by Hickling in homage to the arcade and home console greats of the 90s, but the main point of reference as seen in the footage is Star Fox. Specifically, Star Fox 64, aka everyone's favorite. It's nearly feature complete, with 8 of the game's 9 planned main levels already being in the game. The basic setup for it is this. You play as a starfighter pilot named Q, who's attempting to liberate the Zanzaru star system for the terrorist organization known as Zodiac. And that's about it. It's not Dostoevsky, but for a rail shooter where you play as an anthropomorphic monkey girl starfighter pilot taking on other anthropomorphic starfighter pilots, it does the job. Interestingly enough, it's also a solo affair because Q is out in the field alone with her engineer and mission control, as opposed to Star Fox, where Fox is accompanied by the other 3 members of Star Fox. This isn't a detriment, however, because you still go through what's currently 8 levels of non-stop, mostly fighter piloting action. I said this because the main way the game switches things up on you is through the different level setups and the bonus stages. For a good chunk of the runtime of Ex-Zodiac, it's essentially a Star Fox game with the serial numbers filed off, but then you get to level 6 and BAM! You get a highway chase on a rocket bike like something out of the motorcycle bit from the first Bayonetta game that has that sick remix of Afterburner 2's theme. You know the one. I actually got it playing in the background right now. The fact that Ex-Zodiac manages to change up that radically while still having the same core gameplay tenets of Star Fox with that conspicuous lack of serial number is fucking wild, and I love it. And that's before we get into the bonus stages, which are literally just Space Harrier. You fly around with a massive rocket engine / laser rifle thing, and it's great. And based on how they're unlocked, which is going through and killing specific enemies and being framed as hacking Zodiac's security system, it looks like it could be how you gain access to the final level, like how we needed to go on specific routes to gain access to Venom in Star Fox's 93, 64, 0 and Command, which I'd be super down for it. But this also leads to the biggest perceived downside I can think of with Ex-Zodiac. It's really short. Like, you can beat it in one sitting short. I personally don't mind this because I got it during the current Steam sale at the time of writing for 8 Canuck bucks. Plus, it's meant to be replayed like the games that it's homaging, so if anything, I personally see it as more a feature than anything. The last thing I want to cover on before we go is the aesthetics and sound. Ex-Zodiac is doing more of the old graphical style as legitimate art choice as opposed to tech limitations, thing that I really like and mentioned in my Dusk video. It's got these big, chunky polygons and sharp angular shapes seen on the N64, or perhaps more fitting, the Super FX chip that the OG Star Fox used for its style. The main difference here is that the frame rate isn't in the single digits because we aren't locked to the Super Nintendo for this. As for the soundtrack, oh, this shit bangs! This shit fucking bangs! The composer, plus tech, does a lot of work to make the music sound like the best version of Star Fox, filtered through the Sega CD / whatever the composer for Turtles in Time was using. And I know this sounds random, but at times it sounds like something Lee Topes would come up with, and I mean that as the highest form of flattery. And that's before I get into the special arranged soundtrack that was added in the most recent update. Ex-Zodiac is the kind of game that makes me go, short but sweet? No problem. It's a game that you can tell is coming from a place of love and reverence, and that's fine. It's a good homage to a genre of video games that doesn't get much play these days, and while it's a bit on the short side, you can load it up whenever to get those high scores. I can't wait for the final touches to be put on this for release. And that will be it for this week's video. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.